Hello friends. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And if you're out there with me, I'd love it if you say hello there in the chat and let me know where you're watching from. My name is Carrie Gelato, and I'm here to bring you a card idea for Father's Day from Whimsy Stamps. So I originally had a different video planned for today. Many of you may know that my father passed away about 3 weeks ago, and I really wasn't in the mood to make Father's Day cards. But then the other day I was sitting in my craft room and I thought, my husband's still a father and my son is still a father, and I have a wonderful stepdad that I love very, very much. And I thought, you know what, maybe I will make some Father's Day cards. So I sat down to start creating, and I just loved the card that I ended up making. So I decided there may be some others that are like me and waited to the last minute, and you might enjoy seeing this kind of quick card idea that I came up with. So let's go ahead and change our camera view, get started. All right, so I ink blended the background and then used some silhouette stamps in black to create my Father's Day card. And it's not a new concept or anything like that, but it was fun, it was fast, and I thought it made a really pretty Father's Day card. So today we're going to make one with the moon, and let's get started. Let's take a look at the products. So for the products today, I used, this one is called Clearly Whimsy Stamps, and it's kind of originally a Christmas set, but of course it can be used for anything. And then this one is Wildflowers, and it is called Wildflower Grass. And that you can build them up in different ways to create whatever kind of grasses you'd like. This is the Happy Everything stamp that goes with a happy die that Whimsy offers, but I'm using it today with another stamp set. This is the Happy Everything, which is a birthday set. And you know what, did I mix those up? No, these are called Happy Sayings. This is Happy Everything. I had the names mixed up, but I'm using this block Happy, and then I'm using the Father's Day word right down here as my sentiment. All right, the other products that you can use are just some white A2 card panels in just whatever cardstock that you like to blend on, and you'll need 2 of them to create the card with the moon. And I did pull out a couple just circle dies. And for the card that I made before, this one, I made myself a template by laying it on top of each other and deciding where I wanted my moon. Then I taped down my die and ran that through, and that gave me my moon shape. And the other thing you'll need is some masking paper. So I also used the exact same die to run through and make myself a mask. So today I thought it would be fun, rather than making the exact same card, that we would make a bigger moon in the background so that our deer, I'm going to be using this one right here, so that our deer can be kind of standing in the background of a full moon. So kind of picture the same card, but we're going to do like a full moon behind him and instead of a further away moon. So I've gone ahead and I die cut a panel to be my stencil basically. But if I lay this down and I go ahead and ink blend yellow, it's going to look completely round. So I want there to be a ground underneath my deer. So before I put down my stencil, I'm going to take some minty tape, which I'm going to use as my masking tape. I'm going to lay my stencil back down and kind of decide where I want my ground. And I'm thinking about right here will be fine. All right, so now that I have the ground that I want my deer to be standing on, I'm going to go ahead, put my stencil down, and we're going to go ahead and use some yellow ink. And today I'm going to be using Tiki Torch from Catherine Pooler, but whatever color you want your moon to be. Sometimes you can use a gray, you can use blues, whatever color palette you're going for. I'm using this bright yellow. And I'm just going to go ahead and blend some of that yellow right here onto my cardstock. So when it comes to doing a moon, you almost want it to be a little kind of splotchy if you want it to kind of show the different craters and things like that in the moon. So I'm going to purposely add some light areas and dark areas. Oops, there we go. I want to keep my stencil in place. There we go. I'm not taping it down. You could, of course, tape it all down and that would be good, but I'm going to go ahead and make some dark areas in my moon. And I'm purposely kind of letting the center be light. All right, I think that's going to be good. All right. Now, one thing I'm going to do, I don't want to get any on my ground, but I'm going to extend a little shadow of this yellow out onto my paper. And that's just going to help create that glow that I want around the moon. And you probably can't even see it on the camera. I'm just very lightly adding a little bit of that yellow. Okay. So that gets me done with the tiki torch for now. So I'm going to set that aside. It also gets us done with our template. I'm going to go ahead and remove this masking that I used to make the ground. Set that aside. And let's see, I want to add this, but I do want my full ground. So I'm going to cut off a little bit of my bottom here. Let's see. I probably should have measured that before, but I think we'll be okay. If I have to cut off, trim it just a little bit more, it'll be okay. Because I want that glow around, so it really is okay if it's not perfectly exact. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to mask off my moon. Let's see. Yeah, I need to cut off just a little bit more. I'll tell you why I wanted to cut off a little bit more. All right, if my masking was off a little bit at the top, that just means this dark area of my moon is going to be in my sky a little bit more, and that's okay with me. But I didn't want my extra to be down here, because then when I pull it off, I'm going to have this gap of white between my ground and my moon, and I didn't want that. So I went ahead and cut that off. So you don't want to, you want just the thinnest sliver of yellow to show down here at the base. Hopefully I'm getting that in place. I might have to put my head over the top just enough to make sure that I'm getting my moon covered well. All right. I think that'll do well. So if I get a little bit of white space around this, it's okay, because I can come back with my yellow and my greens and kind of create that, but I didn't want it down here. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, now that we have our moon masked, I'm going to come in with a green blender brush, and I have chose 3 green colors. I'm going to use the Lime Ricky to do the base layer, because that's going to be my lightest green. And before I go, I'm going to clean off my brush just a little bit, because I can't remember. And this is just a microfiber towel. I'm just rubbing my brush on it. So I can't remember if I did eucalyptus last, and I don't want to get a big dark spot. So I'm going to get some ink. And for the most part, I'm just going to go around the top portion of my moon, because that is where I want my lightest green to be. Okay. add just a little bit underneath as well, even though we will go over that. It'll help just with our ink blending to have a little bit of that color underneath. All right, that ought to do the Lime Ricky for now. And I'm going to go ahead and leave that on my ink stand. But next I'm going to come in with the eucalyptus. I'm going to use the same brush. I have another brush for my darkest green, but for these greens I use the same one. I'm going to come in from the side, and we're going to bring, my ground is going to be a bit darker. Ink blending can take a little bit of time. I hope I'm not shaking the camera to pieces, but I want to get enough ink there to give me some to blend. I want that to be a little bit darker there. There we go. Now it's getting there. Come on, just a little bit. And then for my final green, I'm going to come in with my darkest color, which is called Spruce. And it's got a different tone to it, but I really wanted, and you can see on the ones that are already done, the darkest colors on the bottom just kind of provide that base under the grass. I wanted those to be quite a bit darker than the others. So you can see how that green is very different from the greens above it. And I did that on purpose, but I am going to blend them together. To get quite a bit of ink there. Get that blended well. Go. Hopefully that's showing up on camera, but you can really see how that's starting to blend now. Just going to come back with this one to help that blend. And I'm going to add a little bit of this I just rubbed it in the wrong color. I'm going to add a little bit of this eucalyptus up here around the top edge. Let's cover up Spruce so I don't stick my brush in there again. But just up in here, a little bit of, we don't want to lose our glow, so we don't want to go all the way to the moon, but we are going to add just a little bit of that darker color around the edges. And this might sound counterproductive, but the way you get that nice glow is by adding darker around the edges, and the darker you go around the edges, the more your moon is going to appear to glow. So I think that does us well on our greens. So I'm going to go ahead, close up our greens. And one thing you can do to kind of further your glow is to come back with a little bit of your yellow and just kind of blend in a little bit of that yellow glow around your moon. Okay. Now the final step for creating our background is to add a little bit of black around the edges, and again that just further gives you that nice glowing moon. And this doesn't matter whether you're doing your moon in purples, or if your sky's purple and your moon is yellow, or your moon can be grays, just whatever colors, but by adding that darker around the edge, your moon is going to appear to glow even more, even though you haven't changed the color of the moon at all. Okay, so now I'm just going to give that a little bit of that oxide black soot around the edge, and I love the chalky feel of the oxide to do this step. You can do it with your your dye inks, but I think that the oxide inks, the black soot oxide ink is perfect for this step. And you do want to be careful because you just want a shadow. You don't want to have a big heavy mark. And sometimes if you're not careful, you can accidentally. So I'm trying to remember to tap off. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. Just gonna double check, see if I wanna give one more swipe here with my green to kind of blend those blacks, but I think that's looking pretty good. All right, I'm gonna set my inks aside here, give myself some more room, and it's time for the reveal. So I'm going to grab my awl, and let's see how we did. Ooh, looks pretty good. So I do want to come back with my yellow, and the yellow I'm using is Tiki Torch, and I'm going to add just a little bit more around the edge, just on the top. And the reason I'm doing this is because right there at the edge, if my mask was just a little off, there might be a little bit of white. So I just want to make sure there's no white. All right, to clean up my media mat, I have a little bit of alcohol, and this is just regular rubbing alcohol that I keep in a spritzer bottle. I'm going to go ahead, spritz that, and then use my microfiber towel to just dry that up. A baby wipe will do this as well, but the alcohol really helps in, and if you do it right away, it won't stain your mat. You know, if you're using reds and some bright colors and you leave it for a long time, even with the alcohol, it'll stain your mat. So it's best to do it right away. All right. I think we're well on our way, and I love the lights and darks there in our moon. That's really going to be nice when it comes together. All right, it helps if you have a stamping platform to do this next step. And when you put your paper down, I find it best if you have room on each side. Then you have a little bit more room to manipulate your stamps that you're going to use. So here are our two stamp sets that we're going to use to create our scene. And like I said, I'm going to be using this deer here. So I've made 3 Father's Day cards, and so I've used all 3 of the images here. And I'm going to place him about right here. I want him to be pretty much right there in the center, maybe just a little higher. I'm also leaving room for my Happy Father's Day up here, so I think that will be good. All right, the other thing that you're really going to want to have to do these silhouettes is a very juicy black ink pad. I'm using a VersaFine Clair, and it's good with whatever you clean your stamps with to have it handy and wet and ready, and that will make the process go a little faster and keep it a little neater. Okay, so we're just going to stamp that. And this is the part where your card really starts to come together. All right. I am dog sitting my daughter's dog. And normally she lays down right over here in her bed and she doesn't say a thing. But all of a sudden she's scratching at my legs. So I apologize if you hear her down here. I'm not sure why his little fanny there is not stamping. There it goes. Okay, I'm going to do that just a second time to make sure. There we go. Ooh, doesn't that look good? This is going to be a pretty one. I like the moon. And between each one, I'm going to clean up the stamp really well before I put it back. And this is the only part that is kind of time consuming, is the switching out the stamps and things like that, but not bad. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do are the trees. And I'm purposely going to kind of position them off to the side. I'm going to pick it up, and right here I'm keeping my finger right here because that's going to show me kind of where I need my ink. It's okay with me if it goes off. It'll wipe right off of my sticky mat down there, but if I can save myself steps of having to clean, that's always good with me. Here we go. All right. I think that's, well, maybe just one more time there on the side. Okay. That part that's on the, okay. Hi, Nancy, how are you today? I hope you're doing well. All right, now this one, I'm going to raise the tree up a little bit, and I'm also going to move it as far over as I can, because we're going to do a little double stamping on this one. And hold on one second, I'm going to move my paper over, but I want to kind of wash that black off so it doesn't get, okay. So I'm going to move my paper over just a little bit so I have more room over here. I still want the tip of the tree on there, but I'm going to double stamp this one. So the top one's going to be taller, then I'm going to move my stamp down just a little bit and we're going to double stamp it. So that on this side, I have 2 trees instead of 1. It's this side. So we're really just going to keep doing this process. I'm just going to kind of tap that and make sure it's not wet before I lay it down. Now I'm just going to offset it a little bit and bring it down. And I'm not going to add ink down here on that bottom layer. It's that side, yeah. Okay. A little bit harder than that. All right, there we go. All right, so that makes us all done with our trees. We're ready to move on to our grass. Now I'm going to start at the bottom and start working my way up now. And I am going to start with this darkest piece at the very bottom of our stamp set. And some of this will get trimmed off when we get ready to make our card. All of your solid images, you want to make sure you get them stamped really well so that you don't have any white space showing through. Of course, with the tree, that's okay, but your solid pieces, be sure to get them good and solid. Whoops. I'd say that the only part that's really tedious is wiping off your stamps between each one. I would love it if I didn't have to do that step, but all right, now we're going to get this a little bit thinner grass. It's taller and it's thinner. I want it to go a little bit further down than what I got it, so I'm going to stamp that again. There we go. You know, I want a little bit of separation from it, but not like a big gap. So I hadn't inked far enough down on the stamp, so I just went down a little bit more. And now down here, same thing. done the first time. All right, so for the final part is choosing our flowers, and these you use in combination. Now you can use all three of them in combination, but for me, I'm going to use this darkest one, and I'm going to stamp it at the top of my grasses. And if I feel like I still have another gap that I need some more, then I'll do the next one up. But for me, I'm going to start with this one right here, and I am positioning it so that it meets my taller grass. So it looks like the stems of these flowers are the taller grass. Whoops, it's starting to pull up my paper. And we don't want to move the paper. There we go. That down just a little bit more. There we go. All right, what do you think? Our majestic deer standing in the moonlight is coming together. All right, now if you wanted to, I'm not going to do it because you've kind of seen me go through this step multiple times. You can take these smaller pieces and put them on a block, which for some reason all my larger blocks are gone, but you could put them on a block and kind of go in and fill around where you think it might need a little more. I did do that on my other two, but on this one I'm going to go ahead and stop so that we can move on to our sentiment. And like I said, we're going to use the word happy in the block letters, and then I'm going to add Father's Day. So this was a very, just a quick and simple idea that came together pretty quickly. I'm going to go ahead and get the Father's Day word so that we can decide where we want our sentiment to fall. Okay, so I want this word Father's Day to be right about here above the antlers of my deer. If I can get it to stay. There we go. And then I'm going to offset the word happy just a little bit right over there. Okay. So I want it. Let's see, missed the beginning. I hope you show us. I did, and I will show them again at the end. I'll show you the other ones I made. I had told them at the beginning I wasn't going to do Father's Day cards this year, but I'm glad that I did, and I was really happy with the way these turned out. And my daughter actually chose the green. I really liked the blue, but she chose the green, and I had made one out of oranges and reds, but neither of us liked that one too much, so we kind of vetoed that one. All right, so here we have so far. We'll return that, and there you go. Isn't that fun? Now, if you wanted to, you could definitely, I misplaced my, I have to set this back here, my squeegee. I don't know what I did with it. Okay, so to get this ready to go on our card, we're going to go ahead and trim it down just a little bit. So now this is, I don't trim it down beforehand because this gives me the choice. And I can tell because of where my sentiment is, I don't want to trim off the top. So I'm going to trim the whole 1/4 inch off of the bottom. So I want it to be 1/8 of an inch all the way around. But you have some choice on where you go to get your 1/8 of an inch. So I can do 1/8 of an inch here, 1/8. You know what I mean. And now I can decide, do I want to take it from this side again, or do I want to take some from this side? And I think I'm going to take it from this side again. All right. And the final step I have made a top folding A2 card, and I will trim down a white piece to put on the inside. But I'm going to go ahead and we're going to mount that right onto our card, our black card base. And I really liked these panels on the black card base. So if you have several people that you're making Father's Day cards for, if you have 2 or 3 sons that are fathers, or you know, grandpas and things like that, this would be a fun one. You know, you can ink blend all the panels at the same time. Here's the one without the moon, which is definitely a way to go. And here's the one with the smaller moon. And remember when I said that center part I left lighter on purpose? Doesn't that look cool, like that little glow almost around our deer? And the one with the really big moon. So all right, there's 3 different versions of a Father's Day card. So if you need to make quick last minute cards, I'll go ahead and switch back. If you need to make some quick last minute Father's Day cards, I hope you'll give this idea a go. And if you're interested in any of these stamp sets, it's also really fun to stamp them in color as well as silhouette, but you can find those links at the end of the video. So go ahead and give us a thumbs up, and I look forward to crafting with you again next week. I hope you have a happy weekend, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.